Hey everybody, welcome to the Solar Sister channel. It's your girl Solar Sister coming to you once again with another video. Guys, I wanted to come on here real quick to talk to you a little bit about something that I've been kind of thinking through, trying to process. I wasn't going to come on here, but it's been kind of rolling around in my spirit, so I was like, let me go ahead and get it out, get it over with, talk about it, move forward. So before we move forward, guys, if you would go ahead and thumbs up the video, hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Also hit the notification bell if you want to be made aware of any upcoming videos, and feel free to share the video with anyone you think might benefit. So guys, there has been a lot going on, in these YouTube streets, in these social media streets, regarding the death of a popular YouTuber, social influencer, social media influencer, what have you. I'm not going to talk about, that particular issue, but I do want to talk about the issues that I think we've been dealing with as Black people in the community. Black men and Black women, it feels like, there's been just some contention between us for so long, and it was so much so that was actually one of the reasons why I left the States. I just didn't feel safe in the States. Not that I was in any kind of situation. I just felt like if something jumped off, I didn't feel like, Black men would be willing to provide protection or at least care to protect. There were too many stories in the out in the streets, about, kind of people standing around watching people being, hurt and so forth and not joining in, maybe even laughing. I don't know, but I just felt like there was just this spirit that had come across or come over the community where it just wasn't safe, for me. And this is my experience. I'm not talking about anybody else. If you have felt like that in the States, go ahead and drop a comment in and let me know how you were feeling. But again, my feelings started being like that probably 20 years ago, but over the last decade, for sure, I really didn't feel safe. When I was in college, in the 80s, I never had an issue feeling like if, I was driving home and my car broke down, and actually that did happen. I never felt like, someone wouldn't stop and help me. If my tire needed changing, someone wouldn't stop and help me. I never felt like someone would not stop and help me. But now it's like, shoot, you could be a grandmother on the streets and people will pass by you and not give you any help. So anyway, I have always felt a strong pull to figure out what was going on between Black men and Black women. I always felt like, the issues that we were having were because of miscommunication. Maybe, there was some clarity that needed to be had, just so that, people could get on the same page. I feel like people were talking, but then the other sex was hearing blah, 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 blah. In the 90s, I remember, and it might have been the early 2000s, I'm not sure, at my church, we sat through this study of his needs, her needs. And, our pastor, our male pastor, actually taught the women's class, and then his wife taught the men's class. His needs, her needs. That was the name of the book. And so we actually had such a good discussion in our group. We ended up extending our, study, I think maybe a couple more weeks, because it was interesting because there were women in the group who were of all different kinds of statuses. So you might have had a widow who was married 30 years, had been married 30 years, who found herself single. Or you might have found, some single women who had been single all their lives and they were in their 30s or 40s, or, whatever, trying to date or, get married or what have you. And there were some people who were married. And, so it was just a good... I think a good mix of people in different seasons of their lives. So same thing, I guess, for the men's class. But part of the issue I think that we've been having in the community is everybody is talking, but nobody is listening and nobody is speaking in a way so that the other people can be heard. Or so that the other people can understand. You know, if you find yourself screaming and yelling and disrespecting and, you know, your delivery is trash, nobody is going to want to hear that. Nobody's going to want to hear that. And so I actually had wanted to start this group where I could bring men and women together, so single men and single women together, so that we could talk about the issues. I wasn't able to do that. I was trying to get that together right before the Crown Victoria situation happened. But what I did try to do was move that discussion online. And it was actually opened up to single men, married men, single women, married women, whatever, so that we could sit and just talk about some of the issues that we were dealing with in the community. And of course, just like a lot of the other times when, like in the singles ministries and so forth, you always had more women. And so in this particular group, mostly it was women who were coming online to discuss certain things, but there were a number of men who were willing to come on, but we could never get beneath or underneath the surface. And that was part of, I think, having to go online. There's something about being able to sit and discuss things in person so that you can feel, you know, or see the person's expressions better, and you can check their movement and check their energy when they're in person as opposed to them, you know, typing and being on a screen. So I don't know, y'all. I'm just at this point in my life where if you aren't willing to be about something, then don't talk about it. We're beyond the stage of talking. Now we're in the stage of having to implement. We're now in the stage of having to do. If, black man, you are having an issue with something that's going on in the community, stop putting it on the other people in the community. Stop putting it on the women. Stop putting it on whoever, and figure out what you can do where you stand. Ask yourself, am I doing everything that I can be doing to be the best person or the best version of myself that I can be? Before you're trying to point the finger. You know, my grandmother used to say a thing when I was growing up, you know, when you're pointing the finger at someone else, there are three more pointing back at you, which means that you're supposed to look at yourself 3 times as hard as you are looking at the other person that you're pointing at. If you're pointing at someone else saying that they're doing this, this, and this, you need to be looking at yourself 3 times as hard and asking yourself, well, what am I doing? And focusing 3 times as hard on yourself. So I just want to just put this challenge out there. That's what it is. I want to put this challenge out there because I feel like somebody has to call a timeout and change the narrative on how things are going, because we're not setting a good example of what the next generation is coming up on. And this, we've seen this. We've sat back and watched this happen when it came to the music. People being called bees and hoes and whatever else is. We've allowed this to slowly creep in, and now it has become a flood. What was a leak of disrespect has now become a flood of disrespect. And so what I want us to do, you know, you can't fix, first of all, what you can't acknowledge, Dr. Phil. You can't fix what you can't acknowledge. If you can't say to yourself that, you know what, I know the men in the community have not been doing what they needed to do, or the women in the community haven't been doing what they needed to do. If you can't acknowledge what the problem is, then you definitely aren't going to be able to fix it and move forward. So I want to challenge every black woman, every black man out there. If you can't say that you respect black men, or if you can't say that you respect black women, then don't say anything. If you can't show actions that show that you respect black men, if you can't show actions that show that you respect black women, then don't do anything. Don't do anything. Stop doing whatever it is that you're doing. Stop doing it and focus on what you need to do in order to make sure that you're being the best person that you can be. Stop saying that you disrespect, or stop using disrespectful terms and giving disrespectful actions towards a certain group of people, and look at what you're doing to just to yourself. Look at how you're carrying yourself. Look at how you're dealing with the people in your circle. And I'm talking about like your family. I'm talking about your friends. Who are you hanging out with? Who are the influencers in your life? If they're not people that you would trust your daughter with, then they ain't the people that you need to be around. If they're not the people you would trust your son with, then they're not the people you need to be around. So y'all, look, we got to do better. There is too much going on out here that we need to be focused on than for us to be combative towards each other and disrespectful towards each other. We need to be out here talking about some reparations. We need to be out here talking about some cancellation of student loan debt, the George Floyd Policing Act, and all these other things that need to be talked about. I'm out of the matrix, but I'm still aware of the issues that we are dealing with. And if you are planning to repatriate, if you have not dealt with whatever your issues were in the States when it came to you dealing with black men or you dealing with black women, you need to be working on those issues, because if not, you're going to bring that toxicity over to your new country, and it's going to be a little different. It's going to be a little different for you to overcome, because you're now having to deal with a whole other set of norms. So come on now, go ahead and work through and process through whatever your issues are in the States, and leave that toxic behavior where it is. Change your thinking. If it's stinking thinking, change it. I don't care how many people agree with you. Find some people you can talk to who don't agree with what you agree with, and find out why. Having different perspectives is called growth. Listening to other people's perspectives, it may not change your opinion, but having another perspective to look at may give you some other things to think about that you haven't thought about. If everybody thinks like you and believes like you, then you would never grow. You would never grow. So learn to hang out with some people and have some conversations with people who don't think like you. Again, you may not sway them to believe like you believe, and they may not sway you, but just having a little bit of a different perspective may open your thought processes to something else. Having different opinions, listening to different opinions may be helpful for you to get information that you would not get otherwise. So guys, I've already gone longer than I planned on going, but I just need us to get focused on the main thing. We can't move forward fighting each other. We cannot move forward fighting each other. And it's just, somebody just has to call timeout, flag on the play. Look, I'm not even a sports person, but flag on the play, foul, whatever. We need to just cut it. Cut it and go back to loving on each other, go back to caring for each other, go back to being concerned about each other, y'all, because we all we got. Because the others don't care. The others want us to stay doing exactly what we've been doing so that they can keep doing exactly what they've been doing. But guys, listen, if you can't do anything else, like I always say, protect your headspace, guys, protect your heart space, and keep your vibration high. Until the next one, guys, it's your girl, Solar Sister.